It is WagerTalk Today for Thursday, November the 21st. I am Steve Merrill, filled in for the Prez. It is a Prez free zone tomorrow on Friday as well, so it's safe to watch. My co-host Teddy covers along my side, and we have a great show here on Thursdays. We head closer to big football weekend. We have Marco D'Angelo starting it off at the top, talking a little Connecticut, Syracuse, and also an NFL game. Panthers, Chiefs, worst against the best, or at least one of the worst against the best. Very interesting to see how Marco's approaching that one. Teddy's going to talk about the Tyson-Paul fight. Big fight this Friday. Oh, wait, that was last Friday night. No, he's got a final thought on the Tyson-Paul fight for what bettors learned. Speaking of fighting, Kyle Anthony, UFC expert, is here to break down some MMA action for this weekend. Also, a little big game breakdown from Teddy for the biggest college football game this weekend, Ohio State, Indiana. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, Dave Sharapan, Pittsburgh native. Maybe we'll get him to talk a little Thursday night football, Steelers-Brown as well, with sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan. Let's get it started, though. We'll bring in Marco D'Angelo off the top. And Marco, you're a Pittsburgh guy as well. Welcome to the show.
Yes, I am, and looking forward to tonight's game. And I'm actually in action on tonight's game, so I want to check that out later. But we're here to talk some college basketball. Great Big East matchup between Connecticut and Syracuse. No, this is football. We're not talking college basketball. That would have been a great one back in the day, wouldn't it?
Sure, but we wouldn't get to talk about it in November.
This is true, Teddy. Looking at this game with Connecticut and Syracuse, this is a game that is much bigger for Connecticut. Football program wise, if they could go into Syracuse and knock them off, would be a big feather in their cap. Both teams are bowl eligible already, so we don't have to worry about trying to figure out, okay, well, this team wants this game, they need this game. They're on even footing in that regard. Look at Connecticut. Yeah, granted, they haven't played the same type of schedule, but you can only play who's in front of you. And they have gone 6-1 over the last 7 games. And as I said, beating Syracuse would be a big thing for the program. The strength of this Connecticut team is their rushing game. They rush for 179 yards or more in 6 of their 8 games this year. That's going to be strength versus weakness because Syracuse has been getting gashed on the ground. In their last 3 games, Syracuse has given up 249, 313, and 166 on the ground. Speak about horrible scheduling spots, and you know I love to look at the situational spots on the schedule. You've got Syracuse, who entered is in the ACC, but we had those West Coast teams also enter the ACC this year. So you always have the situation where you might have a West Coast team coming east or an East Coast team going west. Well, last week it was Syracuse going west, and they went to California they went to California, 10-point underdog, and they beat them. That was a big win for them. Now they come home off of traveling to the West Coast. Want to point out, that was their 5th road game out of their last 6, and 2 of them were cross-country West Coast trips. They also played UNLV in that stretch out here. This is just a bad spot for them coming back home, already bowl eligible. How do you get excited about playing Connecticut, especially when you look at who their final game is? Their final game is against Miami, and that is a game they got circled. They would love to play spoiler, wreck Miami's plans to go into the playoff picture. This is a game where I think Connecticut is a very live underdog. I'm going to go all the way. I got Connecticut plus the points here, but do a little sprinkle because it would not surprise me if they pull an upset. I just don't trust Syracuse as a favorite of this size.
So when it comes to follow-up questions, Marco, this one's a hard one because I agree with you 100%. And I could only look at the UConn side in this game. That said, I have a question when it comes to, I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. Is UConn good enough? And how do we know if UConn's good enough? Certainly when we've seen them as underdogs. They've only been underdogs 3 times this year. They lost all 3 of those games. They've been feasting on the weak far more than stepping up in class. And, certainly, we have an opener at Maryland that wasn't good. I'm not too worried about that. Then they had a closer game at Duke. How do we know that UConn's capable? Because Part of me thinks they are, and part of me worries about their depth at this stage of the season.
Well, Teddy, if we could answer that question every week, man, me and you would be sitting on an island. We'd have some babes feeding us fruit and just kicking back. And that's what handicapping is about. But here's the thing. We don't know that because if you just go on strength of schedule, there's no question. Syracuse has played a much tougher schedule this year. But given the elements that we're looking at and looking at the time of the season, looking at what is meaningful and what is not, there is no question as far as the gauge meter of who wants this game more. It's Connecticut, 100%. Syracuse is coming off a big road win and a bigger game next week against Miami. And to me, that is what I am banking on getting to the window with this play, is that they've got bigger fish to fry and they're going to take this opponent lightly. And that's where I think that the lesser foe can rise to the occasion, because the better foe is not going to be as focused as they should be.
That was Connecticut, Syracuse, Saturday, noon Eastern. And you know it's not basketball when UConn men are catching 10.5 points. That's a giveaway right away. We would jump on that
women,
if that ever. Might be a decade before we see that happen again. That's some Saturday college football. We're going to look at a Sunday NFL game in a moment. Just a reminder, if you want to get both Thursday night games, I've got free videos for both of them. Steelers, Browns, and also NC State, Georgia Tech. Another ACC matchup free here on the channel. Yet another reason to click subscribe and click that bell for an instant alert when the free play solo games go up each day of the week. And also, speaking of football, every capper right now, you can get the rest of the football season at WagerTalk.com for just $3.99. That's not college or pro. It's both combined through the Super Bowl for just $3.99 complete. The rest of the football season for Marco D'Angelo, Teddy Covers, myself, Steve Merrill. And it's not limited to just one capper. You can load up, get multiple cappers for just $3.99 for the rest of the football season right now at WagerTalk.com. All right, that was some college football, Marco. Let's look at Sunday's game. You know, I caught myself earlier when I said best team versus the worst team, because it's really maybe not the case anymore. Both the Lions and Chiefs have one loss. They've looked like two of the best, if not the best teams. Panthers, though, now 3-7. There's actually 5 other teams with only 2 wins. So, you know, everyone thought the Panthers were by far the worst team a month ago. Now they're competing for the worst spot. What are you doing with this one? Currently, Kansas City about a 10.5-point road favorite. Maybe the total is a better option in this one?
Yeah, I am going to look at the total, and I'm going to try to talk about a little bit of a myth here that the average bettors look at. When you see a game with a big point spread, a double-digit point spread, and a low total, your knee-jerk reaction for John Q. Public, in my opinion, is you correlate a big favorite with an over. And that's just not the case more often than not. And one of the reasons being because that big favorite is such a dominant, obviously, because they're double digits, that they get leads in these games. They get big leads and they get them early. And then what ends up happening is they'll have a tendency to milk the clock, run out the clock, shorten the game. Well, then you look at MOs of the coaches. Well, there's nobody better in the NFL than milking the clock than Andy Reid. We've seen him take his foot off the gas all the time. And in the past, sometimes it has cost him point spreads because teams have backdoored him. That was before he had one of the best defenses in the NFL. And that's this version of the Kansas City Chiefs this year. If they are not the best defense in the NFL, they're one of the best top 3, in my opinion. Carolina is going to have trouble scoring in this game. And as I said, Andy Reid with the lead is going to milk the clock. But boy, if he's ever going to milk the clock more, it's going to be this week. Why? Well, he's coming off a hard-fought game last week in Buffalo, which they came up short. So that you're going to get a team that's focused, wanting to get back in the winning column after losing last week to, you got to say one of their rivals, because they play Buffalo every year, whether it's regular season or playoffs. And more importantly, they got to turn around and play in 5 days. They play on Friday this week, day after Thanksgiving, against a division rival, the Raiders. Now, granted, the Raiders are not a good football team, but it is a division rival, and the Raiders have played them tough. It seems like one of the 2 games every year. So they're going to be concerned about that one. They want to get in and out in this particular ball game as quickly as they can with as few injuries and being as close to 100% healthy. And then I'm going to give you a couple stats. Carolina, since 2022, when installed as an underdog, they're 12-6 to the under. But here's the one that really catches my eye. This is a league-wide stat since 2020. Road teams who are outscoring their opponents by 4 points or more on the season in a game after allowing 30 points, which is what Kansas City did last week, they are 34-9 to the under in their very next ball game. I've got a stat that says under. I've got a theory concept of Andy Reid that says under. That lines me up. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City, let them rush out to a 17-point lead and put it in cruise control the rest of the way.
So this is another one, Marco, that there's no way I'm going to argue against you, because the only way I can bet this total is under. All right, I'm with you conceptually. Is Carolina's defense good enough to get stops against the Chiefs? That's my biggest worry here. KC, look, we know that Kansas City's offense is capable of doing impressive things. And in a good handful of games this season, they've done it. But when you look at Carolina's defense, they're giving up, 4 or 5 touchdowns on a fairly consistent basis. And if KC gets in the 30s here, this game's going to have a hard time staying under. So can the Panthers defense get stops?
Well, obviously, Teddy, I'm hoping for that. And I'm hoping for a couple field goals after 7-minute drives from Kansas City, which would definitely lock things up for me, because I don't see Carolina topping 10 points in this game. So for us to lose this game, I think that Kansas City has to get over that 31-point mark. That's a big number to get over whenever you're trying to milk clock in the game. So we'll see what happens. But you're right. And if Kansas City does get over, the high 30s that sends this over, in my opinion, it's not going to be from the Kansas City offense. I think it would be from Carolina, maybe, having a couple interceptions, maybe a pick 6 or something that sets them up inside the 20 with a quick score. That's how I see it getting over, if it does, more so than Kansas City just rolling up, 38 points in this game.
It's Marco D'Angelo talking about the Chiefs and Panthers. And, Marco, real X factor for me is Bryce Young. It's really incredible. Since they benched him in mid-September, he's come back now. His last 5 starts. His QB rating's been like 77 or higher in all 5. And for the season, it's still 67. So he's been outperforming since being benched. But we'll find out if that's for real this week. He's looked pretty bad in his NFL career so far. He's taken on a much better defense now in the Kansas City Chiefs after playing like the Giants, Saints, Commanders in recent weeks. Marco, what else you got going on at Wager Talk? I mentioned the $3.99 football special for the rest of the season. You've also been red hot in all sports. In fact, number 1, I believe, the last 30 days. Let us know what you got going on here at WagerTalk.com. And tell us how they can get a nice little run with you here, including your 5%. So all included here. What is it, a 2-week for $149? 2 weeks basically for the price of 1.5.
2 weeks. 2 weeks, $149. They get you every play. You don't have to worry about missing an NBA game or a hockey play. We've had spot hockey plays this season, 6-2 for the year with hockey. That's running well. Just getting underway with the NBA. I've only had 2 official plays so far, 2-0 with the NBA. I like to let the season unwind a little bit, but you're going to get everything for 2 weeks. And that includes Thanksgiving week. That is the biggest week in football with all of the games Thursday through Monday. Love that, Friday after Thanksgiving, sitting around eating all the leftover turkey and making some sandwiches and watching football. There's nothing better than that. So check out a 2-week package. We do have a 5% play coming this weekend. 16-3 on those 5% plays since February, guys. You'll get that. Those sell for $35 by themselves. It's included in the 2-week package, $149.
In order of favorite things, turkey, making sandwiches, and then betting football. Marco said that in his order of favorite things, so that was very accurate, though. But no, it's a great point, Marco. It's really more than 2 weeks, because that Thanksgiving week is almost a double week on its own with all the football we have every day. So great time to check out the number 1 ranked capper over the past month in Units 1, Marco D'Angelo at WagerTalk.com. All right, Cal Anthony's around the corner. We're going to talk some UFC Fight Night in Macau, I believe, the most densely populated area of the world. Teddy covers 700,000 people living in 12.5-mile radius. I did not know that. I know it now. But he's going to talk a little fight action here in a moment. But before we do so, let's revisit a little boxing. I haven't seen you since this fight took place last week, Teddy. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I actually took a screenshot of the final numbers after watching that, whatever you want to call it, last Friday night. There it is. And you can see that punches thrown. I mean, but look, it landed. He only got hit 18 times in, 8 rounds? I mean, you and I could have stood in there, Teddy, and taken that blow. Your thoughts?
I think he had 17 of the 18 in the first 2 rounds. I really do.
Good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
We talked a lot about this fight on air last week and never talked about the result. And my kid, Isaac was really hyped about the fight. He wanted to watch it with me. We got Netflix. All right, streaming issues. That was a given. And that undercard battle was awesome. That Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano fight. Great fight. Classic. Tyson Paul was the opposite of that. The dude landed 18 punches in 8 rounds. And Paul couldn't or wouldn't finish him off.
Right.
It was as boring gets. Gee, a boxing match that doesn't live up to the hype. But here's what made it interesting. After the fight, you start reading some of the quotes, talking to some of the sportsbook directors. Let's see. The most at MGM, BetMGM, there was 4 times more money wagered on that fight than any other combat event in their history. At ESPN Bet, similar story. 4 times as much, more than 4 times as much handle as the next biggest boxing event. More than twice as much handle as the next biggest MMA event in the history of the book at ESPN Bet. John Murray over at the Westgate Superbook, quote, "It was unbelievable for business. Casino was packed, bets flying in all day. I was stunned." People bet hyped events. Yes, now I finally understand the appeal of the Super Bowl. Now I'm kidding. But it was a crappy fight. People bet it anyway. I guess that's what we do. All that being said, the big bets came on Jake Paul. The little bets came on Mike Tyson. And if you're ever going to handicap a fight, a single event fight, I can't think of a better way to do it than riding with the big bets as opposed to the little bets. So hopefully you had Jake Paul in that fight. If you didn't, like I said, I didn't bet it. But from a boxing standpoint, man, Steve, the first fight I really remember was when Leon Spinks knocked out Muhammad Ali. And I was so excited. I was running around the house, and what am I? I don't even know. I'm 8 or 10 or 12. Who knows how old I was? I really don't remember how old I was. But I remember being super excited, running around the house. And I really haven't been that excited about boxing at any time since. Back to you, my friend.
Well, I mean, the correlation I use, and you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the favorite. The sharp money was the Mayweather Conor McGregor fight a few years ago. Same situation. Mayweather was a couple dollar favorite, but probably should have been 10-1. And once again, the public was all over the dog. And I always talk about fading public dogs is the one filter I like to use with my NFL analysis. Another example, right? Tyson was a public dog. Everybody was rooting for him. And that is, as you said, there are times you lay 2 or 3-1. You don't always just play plus money. And that's an example again. Thought you might go this way too. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. I saw it late last night on some news programs that there's potential lawsuits because Paul was saying that he thought he could have finished him off like you were talking about. There's some bettors that are talking about maybe suing now because he did not knock him out. I'm sure your take on that is exactly the same as my take on that. And of course, the networks did not say that there were also people that cashed because he did not knock him out. So it works both ways. And as you know, as a handicapper, Teddy, factor that into your damn handicapping that maybe he doesn't want to knock him out, right? So, but keep an eye out for that, Teddy. I don't know if you saw that story last night. There's potential lawsuits now for people that had knockout bets.
I'll take the under on the success of those lawsuits.
Oh, no question.
And as bettors, the last thing we want to do, the last thing we want to do is start saying, all right, well, now bets are going to be educated by judges. Like literal judges in court. That's not good for us. That's not good for the industry. That's not good for anybody. I hope they lose.
Well, I hope they make an example of them, too, when they lose. Yeah. Because that's a slippery slope, to say the least, right? Start suing players in the NBA when they miss a shot and you have a prop. I mean, there's a lot of ways this could go very bad. So it's something to keep an eye on, though. And here again, it was such a big event. Weird things happen. Over 46 million viewers, and now it's hit over 108 million views on Netflix, which is the most viewed live sporting event they've ever had. So it was a success for a few people, including Netflix. And Comment below, by the way, on the replay or in the live chat right now. Was it a success for Jake Paul? Two ways to look at it. He went out not being the heel by knocking Tyson out, but then again, you knock Tyson out. Is that an extra, feather in your cap?
And Jake Paul announced his next fight, by the way. I don't know if you heard that this morning. Joe Biden.
It's all seriousness. It's funny. One of the announcers on the way out said Canelo. And let's bring in Kyle Anthony, actually. I want to ask him about this because on the way out the other night, I did hear one of the announcers say Canelo. And they were saying it would be an easy fight for him. I'm not a huge boxing guy. Canelo's a little bit smaller, Kyle, isn't he? I mean, so is that something that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly what you just said there is how Jake is doing this. He's finding ways to just it's not rigged, but it's very much things are played in his favor. When he's boxing MMA guys that are wrestlers, or he's aged out guys, or a boxer that has really no career fights, or a retired boxer that's 60. Even in that fight, they made the ring even wider. They had the gloves bigger, so they were just giving more opportunities for Jake to kind of skirt on the outside. So, I mean, this was one I stayed away from personally. But up until that point, I had been betting Jake because it's the Jake Paul show. If it's the circus, you want to have the main character in the circus, and that pretty much is how it goes with all of his fights.
Well, Kyle, it's an excellent point. He's picking fights that he knows he can win, so we probably should be betting Jake Paul money line on all these fights until we see otherwise, including that Tyson fight. His only loss was a narrow decision, if I'm not mistaken, and that could have gone either way as well. So it's interesting. UFC Fight Night, Macau. Very interesting trip here all the way out to China. What are you doing? And as always, you don't hold back, man. You give us the main event, so let's start with it.
Yeah, so the first one we're going to talk about here is Petr Yan versus Deiveson Figueiredo. You've got Yan. He's a minus 300. On the comeback here, you've got Figueiredo plus 240. Now, Deiveson moved up to the bantamweight division about 3 fights ago, and he did have some success there. He went out there, was able to beat Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Vera, some nice wins for him. But the one thing he was really able to do the most was really go out there and utilize some of the wrestling. Out of those 3 fights, he had 7 takedowns, and it really helped him dictate the pace a little bit. He's going to be smaller for the division. It helped him change it up. Now, the issue for him here in this fight is the fact that Petr Yan has an 85% takedown defense rate, very high. We just saw not long ago against Merab Dvalishvili, who is an absolute savage. He shot 49 takedowns against Yan, and Yan did stuff a lot of them, but Merab did successfully get 11, but that's a pace that really nobody can do. And even his most recent fight against Song Yadong in that spot only landed 1 takedown out of 8. And I really think that Yan has good offensive wrestling, good defensive wrestling, scrambling ability, a way to create space, a way to find an opportunity to get back to his feet. And overall, I just don't really think that Figueiredo has the cardio to fuel repetitive takedowns throughout. And this is going to be a 5-round fight, and I think that heavily favors Petr Yan throughout this fight, where, again, the cardio concerns for Figgy. But the one thing about Yan that we all know if you've watched him long enough, that Yan takes off that first round. He likes to really kind of download information, take his time, get reads on his opponent, and then into the second round, he starts to pick it up a little bit. That's really where I see this goes here, where you got a 37-year-old in Figueiredo who's moved up in weight, and most of the time, Petr Yan is the smaller guy, and in this situation, he should be the bigger guy, and I think that's also going to help defend takedowns. And lastly, in the striking side of things, I love the pressure striking of Petr Yan. Great boxing, great footwork. He's going to be able to move forward and really dictate the pace. And this is where I do think that Figueiredo is going to be able to survive these late rounds. I think that you're really going to see Yan pour it on late. But I think Figueiredo has enough to just survive, get this to the judges' scorecards. So in this spot here, I do like Petr Yan by points, plus 120. I think it's a good number, getting off that minus 300 number.
A plus price, Yan by decision. This says Kyle Anthony in the main event in Macau on, I guess it's, Saturday morning? I'm seeing 3:30 a.m. For the fight we're about to talk about here. Carlos Ulberg versus Volkan Oezdemir. And that is a 3:30 a.m. Pacific time expected start. You're going to stay up and watch it? I guess you're on the East Coast. That'd be 6 a.m. You're going to get up early and watch the undercard. And let's talk about another plus price you're looking at in the Oezdemir Ulberg fight.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely be up watching this, but it's going to be an early Friday night, and we're going to kind of roll that into Saturday. But we got business to attend here, so we're going to talk Carlos Ulberg. He's about a minus 250 on the comeback here on Oezdemir, about plus 200. Now, these are going to be two kickboxers with a lot of power. Now, the one thing that you're looking at this, and you look at Ulberg, 6 straight victories, look good, 5 inside the distance. Again, impressive. But when you look at who he's beat, it's not very impressive at all. I mean, most recently, he knocks out Alonzo Menefield. Alonzo Menefield is a powerhouse of a guy who's going to come forward, pretty much ran into a punch in the first 12 seconds, puts him out. But even the guys prior to that, Dawoon Jung, 0-4 run in the UFC. Ior Petr, 1-4 run in the UFC. Tafon Nizhachikwu, 1-4 run in the UFC. Very low level guys that he's beating, and he's doing what he probably should do to those guys. Where you got Oezdemir, who has faced a very high level of talent, winning some, losing some, but high level guys consistently. Magomed Ankalaev, Yuri Prochazka, Rakic, Nikita Krylov. I mean, definitely fighting high level guys. And when you look at this price tag here, this is going to be the biggest step up for Ulberg. And now you're looking at, minus 260 range. I think the price is very wide in this spot. And stylistically speaking, both of them do present threats. And you've got Ulberg, good kickboxing, good range, good distance management. And then you got Volkan, who's really going to be looking to pressure forward and throw big shots. And that's really where I see a lot of success for Volkan. I think he's going to move forward and push forward in boxing range. Ulberg kind of wants a pretty kickboxing range, stay at distance, work his kicks. And the best way to really, slow down a kicking arsenal is smother it, move forward, cut the distance, get in front of him, force the opponent on his back foot. That's really how Volkan fights. He's going to look to move forward and throw the big shots. And I do think that's where this can go. And you also got to add in the fact that Volkan is not a guy who looks to wrestle very much, but 3 of his last 4 fights, he took his opponent down. I do believe that can be an opening for him also here. Again, he's a very experienced guy. I like this plus money here. I think a lot of people like the Ulberg side because obviously he's got the upside for that finish, but I do think that Volkan at a plus 200 number is too wide, and it's a dog or pass spot for me.
It's Kyle Anthony, fight expert, WagerTalk.com, and always talk about diversifying your portfolio. Kyle, you're the way to do it, man. Up over 70 units already in 2024 in MMA alone. So check out his page. Also, he posts a lot of free plays as well. He gives them to us here on the show, but he also posts bonus free plays each week on his page. Kyle, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so I have a 4% play up this weekend. We are 26-7 on 4% and 5% plays since February, finding good spots to put our money. We have 3 events left in 2024. We're going to look to add to that profit. As you said, 70 units this year, feeling great, and let's finish the year strong.
Yeah, Kyle's got that 4% best bet up right now, as he said, on an incredible 26-7, 79% run on 4% and higher. And, of course, if you get an all-access package, he adds the plays throughout the week. You get them instantly emailed to you the minute they're added as well, so you can shop around and get the best price on all these fights. Kyle Anthony, WagerTalk.com. All right around the corner, we got Dave Sharapan, Pittsburgh native, which means he's going to talk about a lot of hockey. So we got some NHL coming up, but also this Thursday night Steelers-Browns game. But before we do so, Teddy, we got to talk about maybe the biggest college football game this month, not just this week. And we got undefeated Indiana against Ohio State, right? Who would have thought they'd be the undefeated team in this matchup? But the odds are saying otherwise. What are you doing with Ohio State, Indiana this Saturday?
Sure, big game breakdown. Let's talk about Ohio State traveling, or Indiana traveling to the Horseshoe to take on Ohio State. And this line is on the move right here on Thursday. Last night, Ohio State minus 13 and a half. This morning, in the last hour, Ohio State down to 12, 11 and a half popping up. So we've seen some sharp money for Indiana today on Thursday. And it's already been the most, successful season in the history of the program for Indiana. That being said, the lights tend to get real bright for a team like the Hoosiers, who are not used to being here. And this is key. Indiana has been favored in every previous game this season. Last year, they were favored 3 times in 12 games. In 2022, they were favored twice. I understand, new coach, new program, everything's all excited. But the schedule is why Indiana is undefeated right now. They've played Florida International, Western Illinois, Charlotte, non-conference play, all at home. In conference, UCLA, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan. All those teams are 500 or worse. You can only play the teams on your schedule, but when you build up a huge betting bandwagon and you haven't really played anyone, sometimes when you play that step up in class game, guess what? You're an overvalued commodity. What's their best win this year? What do you say, Michigan? When they scored 20 points? This offense didn't work against a good defense. Before I talk about Ohio State, I want to let you guys know about a special offer. All week we've been talking about it. It's a great deal right now. I'm riding a 67% all sports run into Thursday, and you can get a 7-day all-access pass, all sports, all 5%, nothing more to buy, no bait and switch, no nonsense. Just use promo code TC69 at checkout. Do me a solid, not going to waste anyone's time. The likes, the follows, the comments are great. TC69 at checkout if you want to get on board with this 7-day all-access pass. So, Ohio State, let's put it this way. Last year in Bloomington, they're minus 30, and then the Hoosiers scored 3 points in that game. The previous year, they were minus 40 at home against Indiana, 56-14 final. I know that this year's Indiana team is different, but Ohio State is a legit national title contender, at home and interested. Ralph Michaels, kind enough to send along some stuff from his database. If you don't follow Ralph on Twitter, you should, at Cal Sports LV on Twitter. And he tweets out stuff like this all the time. Undefeated away dogs of +3 or higher. Teams that have won 7 or more wins in a row to start the season, and now they're away dogs of +3 or higher. They're facing a team with 1 loss. That's not a ton of parameters. Undefeated team, +3 or higher, 7 or more wins. They're facing a team that isn't undefeated. Those teams, 5-29 straight up, 10-24 ATS. Yes, Indiana falls into that category. Hoosiers team, really, they haven't faced a lick of adversity all year. They'll face some here. And of course, Cignetti signed that $72 million 8-year extension midway through his first season on the job with a bunch of James Madison senior transfers leading the way. Reminds me a little bit of the Mel Tucker contract for Michigan State, which didn't work out too well for the Spartans, if you remember. Cignetti has not won a game as a dog yet. He hasn't been a dog yet. And if/when Ohio State starts rolling, they're not going to back off. I get it. Indiana's better. I don't care. If I'm playing, I'm laying. Buckeyes or pass for this better. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Love it, Teddy. Great breakdown of the biggest game of the week. And, of course, I'm going to have a breakdown of this game as well. My top 25 video. Not a surprise. This will be in the top 25 video this Saturday here on WagerTalk TV. And also, I'm doing a solo video on it later this afternoon. And my database simulation shows over a field goal of line value for one of these teams. But I'll tease it and make people watch the video to find out which one. But a lot of good points there from Teddy Covers on the Indiana-Ohio State game. And once again, if you want to get all these solo videos, free play videos throughout the week, click subscribe and click that bell for an instant alert. You'll be notified right away when these videos go up each and every day for football and basketball free plays. Thumbs up, like the shows and videos, and comment as well, because we read the comments and keep them coming. Honestly, the more thumbs up, likes, comments we get, the more videos we do, right? I mean, I'm not going to do a video for 10 people, but when we get tens of thousands, I'll do more videos. So let's do thumbs up, likes, and let's comment below. And let us know if you're finding it useful, and we will keep them coming. Also, comment right now. Let me know if you find Dave Sharapan useful. And a little birdie Dave said that I'm going to be excited about what you're wearing. So I got to see it. I have not seen it yet. Let's bring him on. There he is. Yeah, I knew he could talk Steelers. See, look, I wore a little bit of gold under the black hoodie for you here, just to kind of be, a little bit fair. But I knew you'd bring it. Damn, Dave Sharapan brings it. What are your thoughts on this game? We haven't talked about it yet. Browns and Steelers. I haven't checked the weather this morning. That total went from 42 down to 36 this week. But when I did my video on Tuesday for the game, Dave, I said a little bit overrated maybe because it looked like it was going to maybe rain in the morning and then after midnight. And what are you seeing right now? It seemed like maybe a little bit of an over-adjustment on that total.
First of all, great to see both of you. No Prez means no drama. So we don't even have to worry about the drama on a Thursday. That's great. Merrill, it's cold. It's snowing. It's nasty. I got the cold gear ready. I mean, I'm ready for the game. I can't wait. Thursday night games have been somewhat of a disappointment overall. I don't even think the players like playing in them. I don't know what kind of game we're going to get, but man, they're betting this thing under, and keep betting it under. And yet the books just keep taking the bets, just like they bet on Tyson. I heard you guys talking about that earlier. We'll get to that in a second. Listen, I'd be the first one to raise my hand and had Cleveland last week +1. And the game closed, them the favorite. And I was duped. I was wrong and thought that Cleveland would play better off a bye in New Orleans. What makes you think they're going to play better at home tonight in the cold? And I just heard on the McAfee show from Michael Lombardi, this is the first time that Jameis Winston has ever played a game under 40 degrees. It doesn't usually bode well for the starting quarterback. I don't anticipate Cleveland getting too many points against the Steelers defense. I'm a little bit biased, and I got more Steeler gear than almost anyone you know. So I broke it out like fine china today. I think the Steelers win the game. And that 3.5 is telling you to bet the Browns. You'll hear that all throughout the day. It's not telling you anything. It's telling you that maybe someone will bet the Browns at that point. Good luck if you do. I like the Steelers.
The Steelers and the poofball hat, which looks so good on you, Dave. You're a natural. You said you had some thoughts on the fight that you wanted to share.
Wow.
Why don't you share those before we break down the NFL?
I cannot believe it. Like, if it was our book, I'd turn to you like this and say, Theodore, do we really want to take bets on this? I don't think so. It's not. It just, one, it doesn't feel right. Two, it doesn't feel like it's all completely on the up and up. But they licensed it, in the state of Texas, and they opened it up in some states. Now, a lot of states did not let you bet on this. And they said, no, it's not good for anybody here. It's good for the books, because a lot of people did bet on Tyson. And my guys here in town said, I heard you, reference Murray's quote. I talked to Benson down at Circa and talked to one other guy down south. They did an unbelievable amount of handle. Like, I said, what kind of handle is this equated to something? Like NFL playoff game type handle on this fight. And it wasn't a fight. It was a show. It was a spectacle. And unfortunately, people got duped. People got got. It happens. And it's not supposed to happen. The books aren't trying to take you to the cleaners or putting up odds on things. If you bet it, I heard you talking about legal things. Like, how are you going to sue somebody for a bad bet that you made? If you bet on Tyson, it was a bad bet. The only thing I touched was the over. I said, there's no way anybody's hitting anybody in this thing. So over 5.5 was my play. It worked out okay. And listen, I got a 10-year-old, and she turned to me and said, everybody at school. I said, how was school today? She said, everybody was talking about it at school today. I said, yeah?
Yep.
And what were they saying? And she said, well, they think Tyson's going to win. And I said, well, what did you say? And she said, I told them they were all wrong. And I said, well, why? And she goes, because he's fighting somebody who's older than you, and you're old, and you would get killed too. And I went, yep, just listen to the kids. They know everything.
It's funny. I told don't ever bet on anyone in any fight that's older than me.
Simple.
That's your rule. Anyone older than me, you bet against that guy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But would that fight have been sanctioned in Nevada?
Nope.
There's a reason they left.
Yeah,
Nevada,
I don't think so either.
There's no chance. Like the Nevada Gaming Commission, and you were talking about fights from your childhood. Every big fight that I remember when I was a kid, there were a lot of them here. They got to pass a stringent amount of tests and the responsibility of that. They take it very seriously. You can't just say okay to everything, because then you reduce your credibility. So there's no chance. Like people were talking about, why wasn't that fight in Vegas? They would never okay it. They will never okay it, because they have bigger events. They have real fights, things going on that are really true to the sport. That was, it was guys in gloves, and it was Mike Tyson, and it looked like boxing, but it wasn't really boxing. So again, boxing is in trouble. When that is the biggest event that you can possibly come up with. And listen, I heard you mention the Mayweather-McGregor fight. That was here. That was a one-time shot, and it was Floyd paying off everybody. Floyd paid off Everybody. I mean, all of us in the books at the time, we did so much handle on that fight, and a lot of people that I know, including myself, I mean, it was the biggest bet of my life, on Mayweather. And it was a minus because there was no way he was losing. So, I don't know where the next one is. I don't know if there is going to be a next one because, Barnum's and Bailey's circus still is going on. So someone will sanction it somewhere, and there will be another fight. But, man, I don't think there'll be as much handle on it.
No, Mayweather McGregor was a night of my barbecue, and I've never seen more money. I've never seen all my guys all in. And they were all like essentially all in on that fight, and that never happens. And the first 2 rounds, very stressful. After that, not so much. Dave, we've only got less than 5 minutes left with you.
Yep.
So let's break down as much info as we can for this week's card. We're going to ask a little NHL, but last week you rolled through the NFL card game by game. Our audience loved it. It's the first time you've done that. Can you do some of that for us today? A little NFL rundown?
Sure. I got NHL first. We'll get that out of the way because I had NHL prepared, and then I got put in a penalty box when I saw Merrill and not Prez. So we're still going to do the hockey. Washington Capitals plus, Vegas Golden Knights and Ottawa under, Minnesota as a plus, and the Rangers as a small favorite. Those are the games I looked at. Expect some movement in that. The big move just came right before I came on the show on Utah against Boston. Boston fired their coach. They're a complete mess of a team. I don't know if I agree with the move because you hear that dead cat bounce thing in hockey. When they fired a coach, you bet on a team that the coach got fired. So you're supposed to bet the Bruins. Maybe the books adjusted for that and got some wise guy money on Utah. That's the hockey. All right, we got the NFL. Let's do it. We'll do it in. We'll try to do it in little under 2 minutes. Ready? Go. Start at the top. Moves. Lions and Colts. You got the Lions, the best team in football, coming off a 52-point performance. The line's 7.5. They want you to bet the Colts. Who can bet the Colts in this spot? I think the Colts money's coming. It's going to go down to 7. Be aware of that one. Chiefs and Panthers, double-digit favorites, are undefeated this season in the NFL. The Chiefs coming off a loss, and now they're on the road at a terrible Carolina team. I think, as Teddy would say, if you're playing, you're laying. Vikings and Bears, interesting spot. Vikings on the road for the 3rd consecutive week. It's a sharp guy play for decades. You take the Bears plus the points. Cowboys and Commanders, that's some bad football in Dallas. You want to take 10? Good luck with that one. That's a hard pass. Buccaneers and Giants, Florida team against Tommy DeVito. You're going to find every reason in the world, and the sharp guys will too. They're playing the Giants in that one. Patriots and Dolphins. I mean, what do? The Patriots stay in games, and then don't cover the spread. Wise guy plays going to be on Miami. I don't know. The under's probably in play there. Titans and Texans. What do you do with the Titans? Every reason, you look for every reason to take them every week. You can't find one in this one. Good luck. Houston, off a short week, they're going to play the Titans again in that one. Broncos and Raiders, they've already laid everything under 3.5. It's up to 6. You may be late to the party. If you want the Raiders, good luck to you there. Cardinals and Seahawks, now we get to the really good games in the afternoon. Dead pick-up game, coin flip game. I'm leaning Arizona, but I'm a sucker for Arizona. I think they can still win that division. 49ers and Packers. They take the Niners. They take the points. No one believes in the Packers. We see it every single week. They bet against them. They bet against them last week and got to the window. They're going to bet against them this week. I think the Packers win the game. Sunday Night Football, the Rams host the Eagles. And man, oh man. Again, the Eagles just keep winning. They're not betting them. They're betting the Rams. Good luck with that one. Sunday night, over the total. That's it for the weekend.
No Monday night. Ravens, Chargers.
Well, we save that for Monday. I know you guys got to do business and you got to save packages and stuff for Monday. Like say you got there's a lot of time for that one. We don't want to jump too far ahead, Steve.
By the way, that Eagles Rams game's on the bottom of the rotation, so I guess they were not flexed out like all the other games have been. I think that was the original Sunday night game. I guess they kept it.
It was, yeah, that was good. It was good. They finally got one right. They've had to flex.
Exactly.
There's going to be.
You finally got one right's the best way to put it.
I wish they could flex out of the Thursday games for Thanksgiving. I mean, you want to talk about some duds, and we won't have to worry too much about watching football on Thanksgiving.
And Dave, let me ask you real quick on the way out. We've talked about how October the favorites just crushed. DraftKings said their loss is bigger than normal because of it. I've talked about it in my Fade the Public video. What's your take on all this? I mean, there's some really bad NFL teams. Like you said, how do you justify Dallas at any point right now and some of these other teams? What are the sports books saying? Do they expect this to start evening out here in the second half of the season?
Without a doubt. I think what has really helped the sports books has been Saturday. Saturday has been really good for books in general. The games are more competitive. Dogs actually cover. Dogs win outright. October was bad, and I never in my life heard unfavorable results. I would just say we lost. Forever, books say we lost. And now with shareholders and, big meetings to get more money invested, they have to call it unfavorable results. Yeah, there's a divide right now in the NFL between a few really good teams. I mean, look at the future odds. There's probably 6 teams maybe that can win the Super Bowl, and the rest are trash. And it's been a clear divide as far as sportsbooks go in covering spreads and results on Sundays.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any prettier anytime soon, probably. Dave Sharapan, what else you got going on? Where can people find you?
Sports Beat Cake and Sig on the Twitter. Daily, Bostonian versus the book, Monday through Friday. It's around 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. Available on the YouTube @ Boston versus the book. Every night, Sports Grid, Sirius XM 159, 5 o'clock Pacific to 7 o'clock Pacific. That's 8 to 10 Eastern. And Cash Considerations Podcast, me and Dan Alexander, every Monday doing a show with a look ahead lines and different things. And that's it right now. Happy Thanksgiving to all of the viewers, listeners. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, listen to everything that they say. And here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Yeah, and Dave's going to be taking that off in about 30 seconds in 65-degree Las Vegas. I checked the weather. It's nice out there
freezing
today.
here.
It's freezing outside. I don't know what you're talking about. It was 30 degrees.
Maybe I saw
woke
the
up this
high.
morning.
I thought I saw a high said 65.
65 degrees.
Is it
What
cold?
the hell?
No,
It was
I'm going to have to
34
recheck.
this morning. It's
Damn.
free. It's F1 week. I ain't going nowhere. The traffic is terrible.
Oh, wow. We got to
I
get
ain't
your
going
take on that in a
nowhere.
couple weeks when we see you again. Yeah, that's craziness. Auto traffic, auto racing, not good. Dave Sharapan, everybody.
It was.
See you guys. Teddy, enjoyed it. We'll do it again tomorrow. I will be here tomorrow and Friday, and also next Monday. The Prez is taking a little bit of a break here, so we'll do this again in about 23 hours. And quick reminder, if you want both Thursday night football games, I did free videos, NFL and college football, so check those out here on WagerTalk TV. And also, I've got a strong college basketball best bet tonight on Thursday. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Teddy, I see you have a big NBA play. Take us home.
Yeah, you can get my NBA play right now at WT.Buzz/TC, and that's going to wrap it for the Thursday edition. Like Steve said, we'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you guys back east. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games, and best of luck with all your bets. Cheers.